it's so important that you understand, look, shallowing is done through, one, a proper sequence on how you start your downswing, and it's a lot more simple than you think it is.
It is. And I think we're in agreement. One element of the downswing that most players could work on is really getting the arms unloading underneath the chest better. And so I'm going to demonstrate someone, let's say, who does swing it steep, but they do need to shallow it out. But we're going to show you the correct way to do it, so you don't want to miss out on this one. So I'm going to swing to the top, mate, and I want you to come over, and I want you to show me what happens to a player who pins the arm against the lead chest as they start down.
Right. So what happens as they start, like, the fault of trying to create lag and shallow, see, they're starting to do this. That goes in there, club pitches out, gets super steep. From there, you usually see them trying to cover it, or they try to late hump the goat, early extend, throw every sort of anything at the golf ball, and absolutely, as like your demonstration there, no control where it's going to go.
Yeah, so that is definitely a steep downswing that we do need to fix.
Yes.
And so a lot of players in one way or another are doing a variation of this. And talking specifically about the unloading of the arms, if I get back to that same position, let's talk about in the downswing and the transition, what needs to happen.
Yeah. So what I'd like you to see to shallow the golf club is actually quite simple. What we want to feel is your trail arm actually simply just starts adding some extension to this. So as you can see, what that does, it keeps your club face in check, shallows that shaft nicely, and matches nicely with your pivot as you turn and rotate into delivery.
And I feel like this is such an underutilized drill and feel for players. Like, you don't really see it that much out there, do you? Of ensuring that your arms are actually lengthening, they're getting longer, especially that trail arm in transition. It's all a sequence thing. If your arms start at a long extended position at address, and at impact they get back into this same state, albeit a little bit straighter, what we're going to see is that the longer that you keep them in the backswing, the better, and in the downswing. So the more that you are simply just trying to and get your arms pulling closer to your body and then have to have a late throw of some variation, the more challenging the strike's going to be. And one of the biggest culprits for that is in transition. We see this lead arm just stay too pinned against the chest for too long. And if you're a really good player, you might make it work for an element of time, but beginner golfer, big swipe across the ball and you're in big trouble. So that feeling of getting the arms unloading, certainly not casting, is it?
No. Casting is what, if you would go to the top, just to kind of show you the difference. See, if we're looking at Garrett's trail wrist there, so if he would cast, we would unload those wrists while he's trying to kind of extend his arms. That would definitely be casting and producing a really weak position coming into delivery. But what we understand is the arms are still extending while we're basically keeping our wrists under control. Our wrists are the GPS of your club face. So now you can see that's a nice coordination between a pretty good face, and if from there it's quite easy then to just kind of deliver it into impact and have some stable control over what's going to happen.
A great feel to kind of get the sensation of what this would be like is to almost imagine you have a paintbrush in your backhand and you're standing and there's a wall right here, and what you're going to do is you're going to swing to the top, imagine the paintbrush in the right wrist, and you're moving down the wall with that paintbrush without flicking the paint off. So you're holding it, big, long, nice, smooth stroke of that paint down the wall coming down into impact, and you'll find that your wrist conditions will be of one, which can produce a very compressed ball strike. So the feeling of ensuring that we are getting the arms unloading is going to solve a lot of the shallow versus steep concept. The last one I want you to discuss is the difference between a cupped and a bowed wrist and the effect on shallowing in the downswing there.
Right, so if you go to the top, and let's say I want to see your best version of DJ. Right, so DJ, Dustin Johnson, hugely cupped wrist at the top, right? So you can see that wrist is really curving backwards, which, as you can see, really shuts the club face down. And now let's say you're trying to shallow it, right? So you can see now, look at how hooded that club face is and also how far inside that comes, right? So from there, you're really going to struggle with adding too much right side bend, low point issues. Face usually going to be super, super open, right? And that can create a terrible problem. That's why DJ doesn't really do that.
Exactly. So as we get to the top, mate, what's next?
And next is if you would have a overly cupped club face, which really opens your club face, and you do that same thought. So see, coming down, now look at that. So that face stays really, really open, even though you're kind of trying to extend that arm somewhat, keeping these wrist angles. Look at how face super open, and you're actually coming already outside, and you're going to start swinging and swiping left with this face super open, too much loft, no compression, and slice down.
Big time. the face is definitely moving and the mass of the club head's outside the end of the grip, moving across, and that's going to cause a lot of inconsistency. So what we are looking for here is to ensure within reason that our wrists are relatively neutral, assuming you've got a good grip. Don't overcomplicate it. I really don't like players trying to manipulate their wrists in the downswing. You can do it earlier in the backswing from address, but if you're a player who struggles with your ball striking and you just want a little bit more consistency, try and get as much done in the setup and in the takeaway as possible. So the rest of it's automatic. And then a simple feel, just as simply getting to the top and just feeling that that back arm is straightening, almost as if you feel as if your chest is staying back and behind the golf ball, will actually allow you to get into a position where the shaft is going too shallow. But it's not done through any big forearm rotation manipulation. You might be able to do that with hand-eye coordination, hit one or two correct after a while on the range, but you'll find time and time again it's the best way to ensure you can at least get a good strike, swing into the top, let the arms unload nice and shallow, follow through. You're going to be able to get a lot more of a well-sequenced strike on the golf ball. Any last thoughts here to tie a bow on this for the players at home?
I think you pretty much nailed everything on the head there. I think for me, it's just kind of really understanding that shallowing is, as you said, not trying to create lag or narrowness of that downswing. It's actually very much the opposite. A visual that I've given juniors as of late is, imagine if you would have a sword stuck in its hilt at the top. And now what I told them is to try to feel as they're shifting, they're trying to pull the sword out of the hilt.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Right? As they're shifting pressure into the left side.
Yeah, and I feel that really encourages me
to
want to let that arm lengthen. Yeah, without really focusing too much on some nuances of wrist angles that aren't actually going to make a big difference.
It's just an easy visual to kind of to see and understand. Oh yeah, I would like to want to pull it out. So widening is the idea. Exactly.
Perfect. So I love that feel, mate. Let's shell one down there and see how this swing comes out.
Pure.
Thanks for watching this video. YouTube thinks that you would benefit from watching this one next. So click that card and it could be the tip that you need to take your game to the next level. I'll see you next time.